Hey guys, welcome to our third edition of the Scratch Golf Show. Today we have a really cool guest, Michael Leonard from Wicked Smart Golf. We take a deep dive into how Michael made his journey from a 5 handicap to a +2 by not investing a ton of money, but practicing the right way. And he shares some of his practice routines. He shares some stuff he works on. He makes great content. Make sure you give him a follow at Wicked Smart Golf on all socials. It's a great conversation today, guys. I hope you enjoy it. A couple quick updates. If you guys didn't catch the live show on Wednesday, we're moving our live shows from Monday and Wednesday to now we're only doing them on Tuesdays. So Tuesday nights, we're going to go live to do some gambling as well as discuss the week that was in golf. Make sure you follow us on all the socials at Scratch Golf Show on X, at the Scratch Golf Show on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe, share it with your friends. We're on the road to 1,000 subs. That's what we need for partnership for YouTube. So we're on the road to 1,000. So make sure you subscribe, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the conversation with Michael today and stick around to the end. I appreciate it. Thanks. Hey guys, we are recording our third interview here on the Scratch Golf Show. We have a really, really cool guest joining us today. We have Michael Leonard from Wicked Smart Golf. Michael, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me. Love talking golf.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. So what Michael does is he's focusing on helping golfers kind of getting to scratch and improving ways of simple stuff. And if you guys know you're subscribed to us, you know we're doing our Getting to Scratch video series. So I really wanted to get Michael on, talk a little bit about what he does, what he focuses on, and help kind of the average golfer who is kind of my target audience, get lower scores, get under 90, get under 80, and focusing on that stuff. From there, Michael, just tell me a little bit and tell the people a little bit where to find you, what you do, and kind of your story behind Wicked Smart Golf.
Yeah, so I've been playing golf for 25, 26 years, I guess now, and really went all in on golf about 7 years ago. I was working in corporate America. I had played in high school and college very unsuccessfully for a few years in college. And, I kind of fell out of love with the game for a little bit, kind of hit burnout, and took like 5-6 years off, was just kind of getting back into, world, just getting into the corporate world and figuring out, how to be an adult, stuff like that. And I eventually was at this job, everything was really well. It was a great career. It was kind of climbing the ranks, and I was miserable. I was like, man, yeah. I feel like there's more for me out there. I just felt like I always wanted to get into entrepreneurship. I really like just sharing stuff with people. At the beginning, it was sharing financial stuff. I was really into personal finance and trying to figure out how to retire early and stuff. So that was kind of my first entrepreneurial endeavor. And then I really just wanted to see how far I could get my golf game. I kind of fell back in love with golf in 2016 when I went to Pebble Beach with my family for a kind of bucket list trip, and really got practicing a lot and just really fell back in love with it. And I was, a very different golfer than I was before when I quit in college, and I just absolutely loved the game, loved the challenge, and I just wanted to see what would happen. I'd never wanted to be 70, 80 years old, and be like, man, I wish I would have tried to go pro, or I wish I would have quit my job. And so May 11th, 2017, quit my job and went all in on golf, went all in on entrepreneurship. And just last month, it's been 7 years. So it's been a rocky road. I would not say it's been an easy one, but it's been wildly rewarding. Played in 300 days of tournament golf since then. Went to Q School, written about 3 million words about golf as a freelance writer, published a few books, and launched my brand, Wicked Smart Golf. So it's been a wild ride, but yeah, love the game, love helping others, and that's kind of where Wicked Smart Golf got its inception. Is I just was always going to the driving range, always going to the course, always, trying to improve my own game. And I'm just always watching what other people are doing. And I just felt like, man, there's so many things that you could be doing if you really do want to take your game to the next level without always, spending more money on lessons, more money on training aids, more technical swing thoughts, more YouTube videos on how to shallow the golf club. Like there's so much more stuff we could do. And so that's where I kind of launched it all, and published the book a couple years ago, and then the podcast right along with it. So the premise is better golf without swing changes.
Yeah, I love that, man. Like I said, that's kind of what I focus on. I'm not like, I do have a coach and I work with him and I love working with my coach. But before that, I was kind of just on my own for a while and just kind of getting from, a 5 to a 0 or a 1, I don't think is super. Like, I feel like if you're breaking 90 it's not super hard to break 80 if you're just practicing on the right stuff, right? And I know we had just talked about it. I love how you preach, right? The same shot shape, work on your putting, work on your chipping, right? A lot of guys like, for example, I got guys in my league who are like 12 handicaps, asking me what the yardage to the stick is. Like, you should never be focusing on that. You should just be focusing on hitting the center of the green and trying to two putt for par. Like, the odds of you making it a birdie or sticking close are slim to none. No offense. Like, you're a 12 handicap. You just got to be real with yourself. Anyway, like, I don't want to rag on too many of my buddies, but your story, you went from a 5 to a +2. I guess, can you talk to me just a little bit about how you did that? What your practice routine looks like, what the mental, what you do to improve your mental state on the game. And I know you do, like, I see on your Instagram that you have like guides and stuff. Feel free to talk about that. Just, how did you do that from a 5 to a +2?
Yeah, so I'd say like when I quit, or even before I quit, I really started practicing and playing a lot. So my routine for the last year before I quit corporate America was golf centric. So I would basically go to the chipping green or driving range before work, and then I would go grab a quick lunch, maybe go 30 minutes at the putting green at lunch, and then afterwards I would go play or practice. So I really did that for like a year. So I was working full time, practicing as much as possible. And then when I did quit, obviously I had a lot more time on my hands. I had no idea what I was doing in my business. And so I definitely was just trying to do all kinds of different things, learning about different practice routines. And I'd say, like, looking back, I mean, I've made every mistake that you can make in every area of the game, from playing the wrong clubs, practicing the wrong way, terrible mental game. So I've made every mistake I think that you can make. That's why I try to share as much as my failures as anything else with everybody else, to hopefully help people speed up success. And, I've been at this journey for a long, long time. And I just think that we just kind of go through the motions a lot of times in practice, and we don't really have intentions, and we don't really have goals, and we don't have the right expectations either. So I think that's a whole part of my book. And I share a lot on Instagram, just different stats and stuff, because one of the reasons my mental game was so terrible and my practice probably wasn't as good is because I had the wrong expectations. We have these magical thoughts where we just watch the golf on TV and we're like, wow, that's how it's supposed to be. Like, you're watching the highlight reel of the best players in the world, and you're not seeing their everyday, like, okay drives. You're not seeing their middle of the green irons. You're not seeing their irons they're missing the green. You're not seeing their flub chips. You're not seeing their missed putts. Like, you're seeing the best of the best, because that keeps you glued to the TV. That's not how golf is. And that's why you can see Rory miss a cut on any given week. Like, that's crazy. Golf is so hard, but we have these expectations that I see, Rory hit 350, so I should be hitting 350. And it's like, well, if you actually look, like, TrackMan publishes data on the everyday golfer, and the average golfer hits at like 215. If you get down to like single digits, you're closer to 240, 250 if you're scratched. Like, that's good, but it's not 350. But so if you go out to the range and think, I'm, not hitting it anywhere, I'm not as good as this person, or if we just compare ourselves to the things that just are not realistic. And so that's why I do think it's so important to have goals. I want everyone to have clear goals. I want you to, maybe break 100, break 90, become a single digit, become scratch, whatever you want. Like, have goals, but then understand that, like, what that process looks like. Like, scratch golfers don't hit every fairway. They don't hit every green. They three putt sometimes. Like, having the right expectations, it just makes it just kind of frees you up, because if you're going out there thinking, I can't hit any bad shots today, I have to play perfect golf to play great golf, that's a failing formula. So I try to really share a lot in my book and on my show, just some, I read a lot of different articles and studies and stuff, just to, like, say, hey, here's what a 5 handicap does. Here's what a scratch golfer does. Here's what a 10 handicap does, just to give you some perspective. So I think that's key, is getting really clear about our goals and then having the right expectations. And then when we know what we need to work on, then spend more time on that in practice. The problem is that most golfers go to the driving range, they have no practice routines, and they just hit the same shots over and over again. They don't pick targets. And there's nothing worse than going to the range, spending, sometimes they're $20 a bucket, by the way, where I'm at. It's insane. But there's nothing worse than spending money and getting worse and feeling like, well, that was pointless. And then you just get on this loop, like, I'm not going to keep going back. So it's important to practice with purpose. It's important to practice your weaknesses. Too many golfers just work on their strengths. But, as you get into pressure pack situations, or if you're you ever enter into tournaments, your weaknesses get exposed in this game. So you need to make sure we're addressing all areas of the game. But in practice, spend more time on the shots that you suck at. And it's okay. Like, get a lesson if you need to, get a training aid, like watch something, like figure it out. But like, you can't just expect to never, have to hit these shots in practice or in during a round if you never really figure it out in practice. So I think that getting clear about it. And that's why I like players, like a lot of guys I coach and stuff, just telling them to like get into a tournament, try a one-day qualifier, try a club championship, because when you get into pressure packed situations, your weaknesses do get exposed, which is okay. And then you can figure out, wow, okay, my driving is terrible. That's the worst part of my game. That's where I need to spend 80% of my practice time for now. And it's just constantly reassessing, because sometimes you'll spend too much time on one area, not enough on another. So golf is obviously a very humbling game, but I just wish players would spend a little bit more time addressing their weaknesses, being okay to fail. My favorite thing is when you're at the driving range, if you want to see, like, just watch golfers and you'll notice that if they hit a bad shot, they are going to pull that next ball out of that basket as fast as possible. They might look around, like they don't want anyone to see it. Like, everyone hits bad shots. Everybody has been there. I always tell people, like, stop worrying about what other people think. Like, I think that's just such a problem in life and in golf. But it's like, don't worry about what the guy next to you is doing. They don't really care about your swing as much as you think. Like, work on the stuff you need to do, even if it's a weird drill your coach has you doing, or you're using a weird training aid. Like, do the things that you need to do to improve. And I think that you'll speed up success a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, as someone who's a scratch player, like, I literally, like I said, I echo so much and I love so much about what you preach. Like, practice the clubs that you hit the most. Like, it's really not much more complicated than that. Like, you think, like, I hit my putter probably half my strokes. If I shoot 72 and I have 36 putts, that's half my strokes. Should probably work on that and work on my speed. And if I can cut 8 3 putts down to 4 or 2, that's the difference between a 90 and an 86, or a 86 and a 78, right? It's just the simple stuff. Like, for me, for example, I am like, I'm like your prime example of somebody who you probably should work with. But for the longest time, I didn't have a practice routine at the range until I started working with somebody who has got me more like consistent on having a pre-shot routine and doing that at the range and getting committed to doing that on every swing. And now I'm picking targets, like you said. I'm having goals when I'm hitting. So now I'm hitting 50 wedges out of my 100 buckets, and I'm working on flighting shots, or I'm working on hitting 10 balls to 100 yards with 3 different clubs, and I'm having those goals of seeing what I can do. If it's a green, I'm hitting 8 of 10, right? Whatever that is, and you just practice the right stuff, and you'd be amazed at how much better you can get just by doing that. And then, like, you touched on the competitive side. I'm starting to enter tournaments, right? I'm gotten to a zero, and I played competitively a little bit younger in high school, was terrible, had a terrible mental game. One bad shot ruined my round. Like I said, I was your prime somebody who you probably needed to work with about 5 years ago. But now it's like, it's okay to hit bad shots. Like, I shanked one the other day and almost made par. Like, it's wild. But I want to get competitively. I want to start entering tournaments. I played a couple club championships. I lost in the finals in 18. Still haunts me to this day. So I want to start playing competitive. But like I said, I love what you preach. So can you talk to me a little bit about like how you practice? Anyway, so we were just having some technical difficulty, guys. Sorry, we're working it out. Anyway, I was just telling Michael, I love what you preach. I love that you, like I said, I'm probably somebody who you should have been working with like 4 or 5 years ago. I was like a 4 or 5 handicap. I hit it great. Could never break 80 because one bad shot would ruin my round. I never had a practice routine at the range. I didn't have a pre-shot routine that was repeatable, and I wasn't committed to shots. And like I said, I love that you make it simple. You work on the right things, working on your chipping, working on your putting. Now I go, I'm somebody who goes to the range. Out of my 100 balls, I hit 50 wedges, or I hit 15 drives. Like, I have goals. I'm trying to hit different shots. I'm trying to hit different yardages with each shot. And like you said, embracing failure. I want to start competing again. I played in a couple club championships in my mid-20s. I lost in 18. It still haunts me to this day, but I want to start playing competitively just to see.
I feel like we got to stop there. You can't keep saying it's going to haunt you forever, because you gotta overcome it. I'm sure there's some learning moments from that event.
Yeah, there was. I was 25. I was a lot younger. I'm 30. I'm much more mature. My mental game is much stronger now. But anyway, can you just talk a little bit about like what your practice routine is? like how you develop your pre-shot routine, how you develop your pre-shot putting routine, how you get comfortable pulling the trigger in 8 seconds over the ball, stuff like that. Like, how did you overcome that, and how did you kind of get there in your golf game?
Yeah, I think that, I think practice routines are just like we kind of talked about earlier, like just really focusing more on your weaknesses. So I mean, my routine isn't going to be the one for you or versus, I mean, it's really just figuring out what your weaknesses is and
Yeah.
spending more time with it. And then also just spending more time with wedges and inside 125 yards. I mean, most of us
Yep.
bang mid irons out there when you really like don't hit a ton of mid irons during the round. Like most
Right.
of the shots are happening inside 100 yards. So I really stressed everyone to spend more time inside 100 yards, to figure out different wedge distances, spend a lot of time on basic chip shots, basic pitch shots, bunker shots, and then obviously, like you mentioned too, putting and having routines. So I really think that an underrated practice tip is to have a session or two where you just go out and you just develop a routine. Because if you really watch the best players in the world and you really watch high level amateurs, they all have one thing in common, and that is a consistent pre-shot routine. And so there's a lot of different components to it. So I'd say the first thing is like, okay, people say, well, why do I need a routine? Well, you need a routine because, one, success leaves clues. So if the best players in the world are doing it, probably going to help you too. But if you
Yeah.
really start to study the science of it and kind of understand different studies that have been done on pre-shot routines, there's a great book about it called Golf's 8-Second Secret. And basically, they found that when you spend 8 seconds or less over the golf ball, your performance improves. In the studies, they found you're going to hit more greens, you're going to hit more fairways, and you're going to make more putts. I think it was like inside 4 feet, you make 50% more putts when you're spending less time over the golf ball. So I think understanding conceptually, like, okay, there's a lot of benefits to a routine. That's key. I don't think people really understand the benefits, and so they just neglect it. So I think that's key, is understanding there's so many benefits. Those are just a few. But the biggest thing is having some sort of consistent process before every shot, so you get your mind and your body ready for it. Because there's a lot of time to think on the golf course, and a lot of times we go negative and we think about, don't hit it in the water, don't do this,
Yep.
don't leave this putt short. And so it's very easy to get negative if we don't have our mind under control. Because it's always important to remember too that our mind is wired for negativity, because we are survival mechanisms. Our brains, are survival mechanisms. We're trying to survive, right? We're always looking for threats. We didn't really get a software upgrade like our iPhones do every month or so, right? So we're still kind of
Yeah.
running on this prehistoric thing that's looking for threats and dangers. So it's always kind of negative. And you know what? I think it was I can't remember what golf book I was reading. I want to say it was Jira Golf. He talks about how you need to have 5 positive experiences to make up for 1 negative one. So like you just mentioned, that one shot or losing that on the 18th hole, like it's easy to let one bad shot in golf really like ruin your round or stick with you for a long time. And so that's where a routine comes in, is because it gets your thinking under control. Because a good routine is figuring out, hey, I got this distance to the flag. I want to hit it this distance. I want to hit it here. It's important to scan, check out the environment, and, hey, there's water over there. Let's focus more on where we want the ball to go. And so it gives you a mental process for it. And then as you have that process, you're also getting your body ready for the shot, because every shot's different. Hitting a drive versus a 30-yard pitch is a very different shot. So when you're going through that process behind the ball and you're really mapping it out and giving your mind a lot of clarity on the shot, then you're actually going to start taking practice swings or rehearsal swings. And that is, you're basically rehearsing that upcoming shot. So a good routine is preparing your mind and your body for the shot. And it also makes it very easy to spot if you do have a negative thought. So if you're standing over the ball and all of a sudden you hear in your mind, don't hit it in the water, you're going to be very aware of that. Step back off, reset, go back through your routine, focus on where we want the ball to go, and then spend 8 seconds or less over it, and you're statistically going to hit a lot better shot. If you really look at the worst shots you've hit, and I know this from my own game too, it was the shots where I was very uncomfortable. Maybe it was just a hard shot over water, or I had a bad lie, but I usually took way too long over it because I was trying to think my way through it. And when you're standing over it and you're thinking and you're lingering too long, that's when your performance is going to diminish. That's when you're allowing negative thoughts to creep in, and it's just going to make a hard game even more difficult. So a good routine basically gets you ready for every shot. And if you watch most golfers, they have no routine. And if they do have a routine, it goes out the door as soon as a bad shot happens.
Yeah.
And when in reality, that's when you need your routine to help you out. I think Dr.
Right.
Bob Rotella said your routine is your wingman on the course. So you don't want to leave your wingman. It's going to be there for you. It's going to help you out. And so that's why I think in practice sessions, we should develop our routine. We should figure out the timing of it, where we take our practice swings, what we're thinking about. And so if you spend just one driving range session and you think, hey, I'm just going to hit a small bucket of balls today, and I'm just going to go through my routine on every shot. I'm going to have intentional focus. I'm going to pick targets. I'm going to breathe when I'm supposed to. I'm going to walk into the shot. Then you're going to be able to take that routine to the golf course. But yeah, a lot of people never practice that stuff, and then they just expect it to show up. So like I will have specific practice sessions where, you know what, I'm not going to hit a large bucket of balls. I'm going to hit a small bucket, and I'm going to be super intentional. I'm going to go through my routine, because it's really mental game training as you're training your physical game as well. So there's just endless benefits to it. And it's one of those things where the whole premise of Wicked Smart Golf is just controlling what you can control. And creating a routine can absolutely do that. And also, it does help speed up pace of play. Most people fight me and say it's going to help you, or it's going to slow down pace of play. But if you're doing a routine correctly, it actually will help you play better, which means less looking for golf balls. It means also less standing over the golf ball, less time, and hopefully better shots. So I think if you're doing it correctly, it can absolutely help pace of play, which I am all for fast golf. I hate slow golf. It is a plague to our awesome game. And yeah, there's just a lot of benefits to having routines for all parts of your game.
For sure, yeah, and I love that. Like I said, I'm someone who famously I've really focused on developing my pre-shot routine over the past couple of years. And a lot of times you hear these guys in the PGA Tour playing, and after they win, they said, I wasn't really even focused on winning. I'm just focused on going through my routine and hitting the next shot. And even if they hit a bad shot, it's okay. Pros hit bad shots. Everyone hits bad shots. People need to realize that. And I love that. I like I said, I love the mindset. And it's all aspects of your game: driving, chipping, putting. You need to have a pre-shot routine. It doesn't have to be the same for putting on driving, but you should always have that pre-shot routine, just like I said, to get comfortable. And if the pros are doing it, you should probably do it too. One thing you famously preach is having kind of a one shot shape. For me, I like to hit a fade when I'm hitting it great. I'm seeing that ball fall right. Can you talk to me a little bit about what the important, or I guess why you think that's important for somebody who's maybe an 80s, 90s golfer, and then talk to me a little bit about missing, because golf, in my opinion, is more about the misses than the good shots.
Yeah, so I learned all this, the one shot shape, from Scott Fawcett of Decade Golf, and it's an amazing course management system. And I basically, before learning Decade in 2022, I would try to shape shots based on the hole. So if the hole went right to left, I'd try and play a draw. If I had a back right pin, I'd try and play a fade. And when you're trying to manipulate the club, a lot of times it sounds good in theory, right? The hole goes right to left, I'll play a draw. The back right pin, I'll play a fade. It sounds really, really good. And I think Tiger kind of ruined it for us, because he created that tic-tac-toe 9-shot drill, which is a ton of fun to do. And it actually is helpful to learn the club face control aspect of practice. If you really watch the pros, you will notice they actually only play one shot shape. Like maybe a couple of them will try and shape shots, but like I remember Max Homa last year at the Farmers, or whatever the tournament is now at Torrey Pines, they were talking to him about a hole that I've played there as well. And it requires, or you think it requires a draw, or at least the golf course architecture does. And they had the AirPods in, and they were talking to him like a walk and talk. And they're like, Max, what do you think? Did you hit the draw that you were trying? And he goes, no, I only get one draw a week. I hit a fade 99.9% of the time. And I think even the announcers were like kind of confused by that. But it just goes to show that even the best golfers in the world just try and play one shot shape most of the time, because when you have one shot shape, and these are the best guys in the world, right? These guys are making millions of dollars playing the game. So if they don't have that much confidence in their ability to shape it both ways in a tournament, why do you, and by you, I mean any amateur golfer,
right?
Because there's so much variability in this game. There's so much happening at high speeds. It's just a game of inconsistencies. And so if you have a shot, so for example, I'm a fade player as well. When I try and hit a draw, I can hit a draw a lot of times, especially in practice. There's no tournament, no stakes or anything. I can hit a draw. But there's some times where I'm going to hit a push fade, and I'm going to hit a double cross. And when I'm aiming right for a draw, and then I hit my block, and then I fade it as well, you're going to hit these massive misses that are just all over the golf course and going to make scoring really tough. So I think that playing one shot shape has helped me so much because unless I have a tree or something in my way, I'm not hitting a draw. Like I'm just playing my one shot,
Right.
regardless of the
Exactly.
flag, regardless of the hole design, and it helps me pick targets easier. I think that it helps with that. It also helps with less mechanical thinking. So I find that, when I look back at, 2017, 2018, 2019, when I was really kind of getting back into golf and getting into tournaments, I would try to think way too mechanically about my swing, and I would try and make swing changes during the round. And if I'm trying to play a draw, which is not a natural shot for me, I have to think a little bit. I have to change my setup. I might have a swing thought different. And so it gets a little too mechanical, a little too conscious mind thinking. And so that's why I think that when you have one shot shape, it makes target selection easier. You're going to have more confidence and you're not going to have the big misses. And it's just going to make golf a little bit easier. So, yeah, I think that every golfer could benefit from that. And like Scott talked about in a podcast I did with him, if you try to change ball position with your driver, because you can, change the ball position with your irons, like within one or two balls either direction and slightly change the shape of it. If you do that with a driver, you're going to hit some nasty pop-ups and some really bad shots. The only way to change your shot shape with a driver is basically trying to manipulate the club head. So it's kind of a failing formula. And that's why if you really watch the best golfers in the world, they're playing one shot shape. And I think everyone really should. It's just going to make the game of golf a lot easier.
Yeah. And most guys on tour honestly play that fade. I don't really know anyone other than like Sepp Straka who still kind of moves it right to left. Even Rory, I think famously now only fades it. I know DJ has the famous quote of like he went to see Butch and he said he never wanted to hit a cut and then he started doing it. Now he only cuts everything. Mm-hmm. I love it because like I wish, like I said, for me it's real simple. Like my pre-shot routine, I'm not a big practice swing guy. I'll touch the grass a little bit. I pick my target. I aim left. Swing hard, and it's going to fade. 99 for me, since I'm, I played it with zero. My misses are obviously not as often, but 90% of the time, if I'm missing it, I'm missing it right. So I can plan my next shot. So even if I hit it right, I know where I'm going to play the next shot from, and I can, plot my way around the course. Because even when on my bad days, I know that I'm still going to miss it right. And that's another thing, right? Golf is so hard. Even you're not going to have your best stuff all the time, and the rounds that are really good are the ones where you're grinding it out, even if whatever it is, 79, you didn't, you hit 8 greens or whatever, and you got up and down a bunch of times. It's very easy to get those lower scores when you're plotting your way around the golf course. Like I said, I preach the one shot shape. I wish people would do it more. It's so easy to play from. You can eliminate half the course on even 80% of your shots, right? Eventually someone's going to double cross it. If you're a 10 handicap, it's going to happen. But if it's easy to play from the right side, if you know where it's going to be. And I love that. Okay, I know we've already taken a lot of your time. I know you mentioned your podcast a couple times. Can you just tell the people where to find that, and then I'll do a couple rapid fire questions, just like favorite golf course stuff like that, and then we can wrap up, and I'll let you get on with your day.
Yeah, no worries, man. So everything is called Wicked Smart Golf. My book is on Amazon or Audible. The Audible version has like 3+ hours of bonus content, so that was a lot of fun recording that. Yeah. And all my Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the handles are at Wicked Smart Golf, and then my website's just Wicked Smart Golf too. So making it pretty easy for everybody.
Sweet guys. Like I said, follow Michael on all the socials. Follow him on YouTube. Read his material. I love him. Like I said, we preach a lot of the same stuff. He's got a bunch of great content on Instagram, on YouTube. Make sure you give him a follow. Like I said, check out his podcast. I know he does some great stuff over there also. Okay, so rapid fire. I know you're on the West Coast, but I guess let's do what is your favorite golf course that you've ever played?
Oh man, favorite there. I'd either have to go Torrey South or Crosswater in Oregon. They're both man. I don't. It just depends on the day. I love both. If I want to have like a lot of fun, I want to go to Cabo for Cavera. That like we talked about before we hit record. The comfort stations there hard to beat. So, one of those three, depending on the day.
Okay, and I say nicest, but I want to say the nicest or most prestigious course you've ever played. Is it Torrey South? Even though it's very accessible. But I guess what would be the most prestigious course?
It's very accessible if you live there. It's really hard to get on. If not, I would say the most exclusive place would be. I've played a couple of nice private ones here, like Whisper Rock. But I also would say probably just Pebble Beach or Spyglass. I've played both those as well.
Okay. Coolest golf moment in your life, whatever that would be. It could be a hole-in-one, whatever.
Yeah, I would say going to Q school. My first day, I was just as nervous as you could possibly be. I was in Nebraska. I was alone. I had to walk. It was 90 degrees, 90% humidity. Had to wear pants. Was beyond nervous, and overcame it all and shot 71 the first day. And I just remember signing my scorecard being like, wow, I just shot even par at a really hard golf course in Q School.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that moment.
Hell yeah. Favorite golfer?
Tiger, obviously.
Tiger?
God, I mean, he's the reason I started playing golf. He's obviously behind me if you're watching the video version.
Yeah,
Yep. I love Tiger. He's the reason I got started.
Sweet. What is your lowest round, score wise?
I believe 66 in a tournament's the lowest.
Okay. What clubs do you play?
I play a mix. So I have Callaway driver, Callaway 3-wood, PXG 2 hybrid, Titleist 3 driving iron, PXG irons, Titleist Vokey wedges, and PXG putter. So got kind of 3 different brands in there.
Quite the mixed bag. Okay, last one. I guess 2, because I lied, 2. How many hole-in-ones do you have, if any?
I have 0 in 26 years of playing golf.
Same. I have none. I've seen like
Painful.
7. There was one summer I saw like 5 in 5 weeks. My dad, my best friend, my college roommate all got one. Everyone was hitting me up to play golf. Okay, last one, then I'll let you get out of here. Who do you think gets it done this week at the U.S. Open? Who's your pick?
Gosh, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I want to always take Scotty just because he's been on fire, and then at the same time, I feel like Brooks is just such a beast in the majors. I could totally see him doing it. I don't know if Rory has it, man. I wish he just seems to be in that major drought. Yeah. So it'll be. I think Colin Morikawa's got a pretty good chance too. He's been putting himself there, week in, week out. Xander, obviously, really hard to win another major after winning your first. So honestly, it'll just come down to whoever has a lot of mental fortitude, because the course is brutal. I think it's going to play really hard on the weekend. And I just hope it's an exciting finish. And I hope the winner is like even or just under par.
Same. All right. Yeah, I agree. I think Morikawa gets it done. I have money on him. And then I agree. I think Brooks, this seems just like a Brooks course, like a 5 under par, or whatever, a low scorer is going to win. Okay. Anyway, Michael, I really appreciate your time, guys. Like I said, make sure you follow him, Wicked Smart Golf, on all the socials. I really appreciate the time, Michael. It was great talking to you. And like I said, guys, give him a follow. Thanks. You guys made it to this far in the video. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I love you. Couple sneak peeks if you made it this far. So we are on the road to 1,000 subs, guys. We are going to be doing some giveaways. So if our first giveaway is going to be at 200 subscribers, what we're going to give away yet, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe a hat or some golf balls. But make sure you subscribe. And then we've got some really cool guests coming on next week as far as interviews. Somebody on the ground this week at the U.S. Open is planned for Monday, and should be dropping that Tuesday. So if you made it this far, guys, like I said, you get a sneak peek at the guests next week. I really hope you enjoy the content. Like I said, make sure you subscribe. 200, we're doing a giveaway. I appreciate your time, guys. Have a good weekend. Thanks. Peace.